discussing Trump's chances of winning New York in the 2024 election.
Normally, a Democrat will win New York.
Can you drive in your thought car, urgently speeding through a freeway, and as quickly as lightning arrive at the conclusion exit and visualize a real possibility of Donald Trump winning New York quite convincingly? Well, Trump believes he can. It's been 4 decades since a Republican president successfully won New York.
Well, thank you all very much. It seems we did this 4 years ago, and let me just say, well, you know, good habits are hard to break.
Not often do we witness an event of this nature happen in the duration of one's life. Older Americans can recall Ronald Reagan as the Republican president who won New York. So, is it conceivable for Donald Trump to bravely campaign legendarily in New York like a hero as if he's Batman? Well, here's Trump at a construction worker site in New York talking to New Yorkers and shaking construction workers' hands like Bruce Wayne does in the popular Batman animated TV series.
He came over and spoke to the media. Here's what else he had to say.
We're going to make a play for New York. They said, I just heard there was a very good poll came out. Look, normally a Democrat will win New York. Biden is the worst president in history, and we have some very bad people here, but we have the greatest people, and they're right behind me. And they all want us to run, and we're gonna run very hard in New York. They've taken my constitutional right away with a gag order. That's all it is. It's election interference. This whole thing is election interference.
Okay, so might Donald Trump really win New York? Well, Trump believes he can. Similarly, just like Batman,
this city just showed you that it's full of people ready to believe in good.
Is a beloved fictional character known for his role as a vigilante crime fighter in Gotham City. President Trump has become an iconic figure in American politics.
As the former president showed us that he's not missing a minute of the campaign trail. Former President Trump was greeted with a patriotic chant and applause early Thursday morning, stopping by a construction site to meet with among dozens of union members and supporters.
Famous for his unorthodox approach and outspoken persona, Batman faces numerous obstacles and adversaries in his quest to protect Gotham City from crime and corruption.
5 minutes in the bodega, Trump maintained his innocence.
There's no crime. You know where the crime is? In the bodegas, where they come and rob them every week.
This is the same bodega where 2 years ago, worker Jose Alba was charged with murdering a man behind a counter.
Similarly, President Trump has encountered significant challenges and opposition throughout his political career, entailing legal fights, media scrutiny, and liberal wing political foes. Fascinatingly, both Batman and President Trump intriguingly understand the curious importance of optics and spectacle in forming wondrous thoughts and views of our American populace. There are reasons why Batman's defending honor resonates with so many mighty Americans due to his brave commitment to the law and his warm courage to take on adversaries of injustice.
That's a warning.
Similarly, President Trump has cultivated a loving populist appeal, connecting him with insightful citizens of everyday heartfelt Americans in New York public spaces. So, all of this leads to the question, are the people in New York brightly beginning to open their inner windows and consciously wake up to their enlightened feelings of disenfranchisement to blinding left-wing policies? Well, I can answer that because thousands of New Yorkers in the gray city streets of New York felt heartbreaking emotions on March 27, 2024, as they closely huddled together in freezing cold air to give condolences to loving, brave officer Jonathan Diller, who tragically lost his journey.
Tonight, remembering a fallen NYPD hero. Thousands gathered to say their final goodbyes to Officer Jonathan Diller today.
Diller was investigating an illegally parked SUV when a repeated criminal offender who was just released from prison, sitting in his car, opened fire. Rivera had 21 prior arrests. 9 of them were felonies. He was released from prison in 2021 after serving nearly 5 years for criminal sale of a controlled substance. In 2011, he was also booked into prison and released in 2014. Now we understand why it's simple for the people in New York to feel disenfranchised by left-wing policies. Florida provides a clear example of stringent laws. The state's statutes allow for a mandatory life sentence in certain scenarios, having 2 prior violent felony convictions, facing charges for murder, rape, assault, or other violent felonies, committing the offense within 5 years of a prior conviction, or after release from prison. So on March 31st, 2024, Donald Trump traveled to Long Island not shortly after. Trump was personally invited by Diller's family themselves. Trump offered his condolences to Diller's widow, Stephanie Diller, and their son, Ryan.
Well, thank you very much, everybody. I want to thank Bruce and a very beautiful wife that now doesn't have her husband. Stephanie was just incredible. Their child, brand new, beautiful. The Diller family you'll never be the same. You can never be the same.
Quote, "I was able to just say, Mr. President, thank you for being here. Thank you for your goodness to this family. Would you be willing to pray with us?" And Trump said, "Of course." In comparison, Democrat President Joe Biden never showed any loving sympathy or a hair of condolences to Jonathan Diller. So, the discussion started off with the question, do you believe Donald Trump will win New York? Have you changed your mind from your initial response to my question? Well, the governor of New York, even with her extreme and heartbreaking left-wing leadership, Kathy Hochul made a sincere and sympathetic attempt to attend Diller's funeral. In secret, though, the paparazzi cautiously documented the profoundly depressing moment when Kathy Hochul was embarrassingly escorted out of Officer Jonathan's funeral, disturbing the Diller's family's warm and loving reunion together in New York. So, you might willingly try to close your eyes and voluntarily concentrate in a black blank space while the governor of New York, Kathy Hochul, was shut out of the bar house door and jettisoned to the curb, unwanted in the street and forbidden to attend the officer's funeral, completely undesired. Well, New York State, like white chalk writing on a green chalkboard, unfortunately has been incapable of solving New York's problems, disappointingly causing a mathematics-sized textbook of suffrage because of Democrat policies. Today, Kathy Hochul continues to maddeningly write with her black pen and scribble her words using wet ink on a questionable provocative gun ban law that greatly slams the brown doors shut for carrying firearms in public parks and places of worship dictatorially. In this bill, these are called sensitive locations. such as theaters and places where alcohol is served, and the United States District Judge Glenn Sudabi, serving in the Northern District of New York, appointed by President George W. Bush, struck down her authoritative restrictions that violate the Second Amendment. For example, licensing rules such as requiring applicants to be of good moral character, and another that made applicants turn over information about their social media accounts. Not to mention a bail reform bill that releases violent criminals back onto the streets of New York. Small businesses have also endured painfully Kathy Hochul's policies and her implementations of harsh and restrictive Green New Deal policies. However, in an eye-opening comparison, President Trump, a businessman and a successful 2016 president, underscores his understanding and deep support for local businesses. This is the biggest piece of evidence to support his chances of possibly winning New York. Even further, the frequently attacked local bodegas and unfair treatment of New Yorker women being violently punched in the face on the streets of New York in broad daylight are prime examples of a Democrat Justice Department that doesn't prosecute crime to the fullest extent of the law.
Kate posted a video showing a huge bump on her forehead after being randomly punched too.
You guys, I was literally just walking and a man came up and punched me in the face. Oh my God.
Such pressing issues and Trump's strong stance on the Second Amendment all support his chances to achieve victory in New York. What also serves as President Trump's chances of winning New York is the notorious fentanyl crisis.
Drug overdose deaths increased every single year. Under my leadership, we took the drug and fentanyl crisis head on, and we achieved the first reduction in overdose deaths in more than 30 years.
Trump has a strong stance on the fentanyl crisis and drug-related crimes for his effective campaign to win New York State. Trump is concerned and supports New York homeowners who are unfairly targeted by squatter rights laws, which can emotionally be devastating. These laws can result in the loss of homeowners' hard-earned wealth and peaceful sanctuary. However, despite Trump's beliefs in his chances and his extensive campaigning efforts, it is important to consider that New York has historically been a Democratic stronghold. The state consistently leans left in presidential elections, and it would require a significant shift in voter preferences for Trump to secure a victory in New York. By 58.8%, for example, Clinton won New York in 2016. And by 60.9%, Biden won New York in 2020. So now I can ask, how did we get here? Well, in 1692, the Salem witch trials hysteria happened. Sarah Good, Sarah Osborne, and Tituba, highly notable women who should be remembered. When the Salem witch trials took place in 1692, the colonial authorities deemed it necessary to restrict any written documentation of the events by implementing a publication ban. So the women were brought to local magistrates in Salem Village, Massachusetts. Rumors and accusations of witchcraft had spread like cancer, leading to unjust trials and executions. Salem's villagers were accused based on hearsay and false evidence, resulting in the wrong conviction. Public opinion turned against the trials and the courts became skeptical. Now, here we are. Today, President Trump is seen on television day in and day out. All we can hear from him is, "I did nothing wrong."
Where did it come from? It came from Biden. It's a Biden trial to try.
There's evidence of that, that he was involved with this.
There's evidence. So you just take a look. I mean, who's heading up the trial? Take a look at the person that's heading it up. Now, there's a lot of evidence, and there's also common sense involved, but there's a lot of evidence, and it's disgraceful. Never happened in the history of our country before what they're doing. So I call it the Biden trial.
Increasingly, the polls show Trump winning his message of hearsay and false evidence. When I post videos on YouTube, TikTok, the majority of notifications I receive are likes and support. Users online say things like, Trump 2024. According to a poll, a majority of voters will still choose to vote for President Trump, even if he is incarcerated and in prison. Nearly half, if not 43%, say these trials by Alvin Bragg and Leticia James will not change their mind or affect their support for Donald Trump. This has been my discussion of Trump's claims of winning New York. With the constant exposure in New York from the daily trials, Democrats inadvertently have created a situation where Trump, like Batman, is increasingly becoming a New Yorker hero, and where Ronald Reagan floundered in communities such as Bronx, New York, the increasing African American awakening community is profoundly showing their support for Donald Trump. The black community is at its highest since 2016 for President Donald Trump, making him the obvious victorious leader choice, ultimately beating Democrat President Joe Biden in the 2024 general election. In New York, for one of the greatest and historic elections of modern times.